Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Elevate Your Life podcast. I am super excited about today's podcast on what do you care about?
Well, Paul, I do care about being on this podcast with you.
That's a good answer, Cheryl.
Yeah.
I was kind of a setup.
I care that we're already to 116 episodes.
That is something we should care about. We are making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, we are. And I do care about that.
Absolutely. So Cheryl and I, we go through life and we think of titles and ideas to talk about and see where they lead to. But our whole goal, obviously, based on the big words behind us, is to elevate your life and to help you move from fine to fabulous. And what we discovered, and actually this was during my last quarter review, I was thinking about the things in my life that are not getting better. And I realized that I don't really care about those things. So you can't elevate something or move something from fine to fabulous that you don't care about. So it got me thinking, Cheryl, about, well, what do I really care about in life? You know, and it's one of those things where when I asked myself that, I really didn't have any solid answers. I mean, of course, there's some things that pop up right away, family and, you know, things. But I never consciously sat down and wrote out a list of things I care about.
Right. And ever since we've been talking about this, I think it's interesting because I think, do I care about that or not? Like, that's what I've really started to think about a lot more. Like, how much do I care about that?
Yeah.
I care about it enough to do it or to move in the direction of doing it. Right. And if so, is it because that's going to help me move from fine to fabulous?
Right. So through our conversations that Cheryl and I have had, we were actually going to change the title of this podcast from "What do you care about" to "What can you control?" Because that's really ends up being. So there's two things in life. There's things that matter, and there's things that you can control. And we have a picture here on the notes. You can go to elevateyourlife.com and get these notes. And this picture, Cheryl, has been with me for 15 years. Mm-hmm. And there's a little spot where the two circles intersect, where there's things that matter and there's things you can control, and where those two circles overlap are the things you should focus on, which is really where we want to get to is what do we want to focus on. So things that matter. So we listed things that like the price of gas. Does that matter? Of course it does, right?
Yes.
But can we control it? Do we have any control over how much they charge for the gas or anything else in life for that matter? No, we can't. So we shouldn't be putting focus there. So so we were saying things like, you shouldn't care about the price of gas, which is kind of true because you have no control over it. But there's other things in life where that matters, that we should care about that, but we shouldn't focus on it because you can't control it. And Cheryl, it all goes back for me, to the serenity prayer.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So it's God grant me the serenity to
accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Right. And I always said that I just lack wisdom. I never know the difference between the two things, the things I can control and the things I can't control.
Right. And
hence this podcast.
Yeah. And I think that's so important too, to look at it like that, right? Just become aware of it.
Yeah.
All of us need to become aware of that. And when we get angry, right, we don't even want that emotion. But sometimes I get so angry, or I didn't even realize that I was getting so angry at the gas prices, at the price of food, that people can't afford to feed their kids, that, all of these different things. And I cannot control that. I understand that, but also being able to help in these different areas too, right? That's super important too. Yeah. And so I think that this podcast is so important just to become aware of where you are And as we start talking about more things that we should care about, making sure that you're doing those things.
Yeah, exactly. Where your focus is going.
Right.
So a couple quick examples. So last night, Aaron Judge for the New York Yankees hit home run number 62. So that has never been done in history. It's the first time in the American League that anyone's hit that many home runs in a single season. So there's a kid actually that caught the ball and ran out of the stadium, had security take him out, and I'm assuming he's going to be selling the ball. So he was already offered $2 million for the ball. And I was telling Cheryl this story this morning about this ball. And first of all, her first question was, well, who's Aaron Judge? And I'm like, well, how much? So he hit this baseball and his number 62, and it's the world record. How much would you pay for that baseball, Cheryl?
2 cents.
Cheryl said 2 cents. Yeah. And I think you even said not even 2 cents, but
Yeah.
it just now why is that? Because you don't care about that.
No,
It's
not at
something,
all.
and
Now,
that
once you told me how much it could sell for, then I was like, or what you thought it could be sold for, I was like, oh well, then I wish I would have caught it.
yeah, there's enough there's enough people out there that really, I mean, like baseball cards. I hear these baseball cards going for millions of dollars for a piece of cardboard.
Oh my.
It's like it's crazy, but there's people out there that care about that, so
Sure.
it becomes a huge industry.
Well, and I think it certainly could become a job, right? Or a business. So then of course you're going to care about that and want to get those things and do that. So it all just kind of depends on um like where you're at, right? So if this is your business and the cards, because I know that I know a couple of people that have that as their business, then of course you're going to have to care about that, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, if it's not your business, then you're just then it is something that you just, and I personally, I've never been into that. I just don't even know
Yep.
anything about it, right?
Absolutely. So one of our goals is to help you come up with a list of things that you care about from this podcast. But also, I think, Cheryl, just equally as important is a list of things that you don't care about.
Sure.
And I told Cheryl a story this morning about Mike Tomlinson. He's the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he was interviewed last night about the upcoming Pittsburgh Steelers schedule and that they have 3 games on the road. And the guy asking the questions, because they're doing a press conference, was saying this seems so unfair that the NFL would do this to you. What are your thoughts on the NFL? Giving you this horrendous schedule, and one of them is actually on a Thursday night game, so it's a short week on the road, which is even worse. So, and those of you that know Mike Thompson, he's just the best guy ever. He's very strict and doesn't mince words. He said, I got 3 words for you. We don't care. We don't care. Give us 6 games on a row. It doesn't matter. We're gonna win them all. And so using common sense with that, the NFL is not going to change the schedule. So you have to take that mentality that I don't care about that. And in business, Cheryl, there's things that happen all the time to us where, oh, well, that's going to cost an extra 5,000 or 10,000 for that or this or that. We don't care because that we know the end goal that we want and that we're not going to let $1,000 or whatever the thing is that we need to stand in our way of getting. I know people ask all the time to Grant Cardone how much he paid for his plane or spends on gas or his plane cost. He goes, I have no idea. It's just he doesn't focus on that. He doesn't care because all he can see is all the millions, if not billions, of dollars that it's bringing into him.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what it costs. What matters is how much am I making off of it. But Cheryl and I had an interesting discussion about what's the average person care about, and this was a very difficult conversation for me because I have my list of 21, which we're going to go over here in a second. But Cheryl, what are the things that and I absolutely agree with you 100% on this. What's the number one thing people care about?
I think that the number one thing people care about is what other people think about them and if they can and if they can fit in. I think those are the two things. That's what I cared about my entire life when I was younger, right? Especially younger. And, you know, in my
You
20s.
seem to have lost that as you've aged, Cheryl.
Oh, yeah. I have 3 words for you, Paul. I don't care. Yeah, no, I don't care at all. Right. And
Actually, I
oh
think
my
you go out
gosh,
of your way to not fit in now.
yeah, I do. And let me just tell you something that I think is so amazing about that is, can you imagine the freedom that you feel? The freedom that you feel when you don't care what other people think and you don't care. Fit in. Well, people need to fit in with me. I don't need to fit in with other people.
Right.
Right? Literally, that's the way,
Right.
and that's what I tell my kids. And I'm like, hey, and you know, a lot of, especially now, their friends, they're getting to the age where their friends are doing a lot of things that we don't agree with and we don't believe in. And I'm like, hey, they need to fit in with you. You need to look for people who are doing the things that you do and the things that you believe and the things that you want to have in your life. You don't try to fit in with other people and doing what other people are doing. No, right?
Well, I
So,
mean, so you have children.
yeah,
You're in. I seem to live in a cave over here. You're more in
you do
tune
live in
with
a
the
cave.
rest of the world. Sure. What are you hearing out there in the world that leads you to think that what people care about most is what other people think about them?
Oh, that everyone's doing it. Well, I'll just do it because everyone's doing it. Well, I'll just, you know, I'll just be like that, even though I don't really want to, but I'll just do it so that I can fit into that group,
Do
so that
you
I can,
so
you
do you
know,
see your children doing that, or
oh
have
no,
you helped them
my
enough
kids
to?
don't do that. My kids do not do that. And because they have some really strong standards that, you know, that we talk about a lot, and that they are like, this is the kind of person that I want to be. And of course, our church helps a lot with that too. And I think that's super important for kids, to have that spiritual foundation. Because if not, and let me tell you, Paul, I've seen it a lot, they just do whatever, right? They're just pulled out, they're pulled this way or they're pulled that way. They don't have a strong foundation. And I think that that is so awful for kids. They have to have a foundation. They have to have a a place to move from, right? A place to go out in the world, but to have that really, it's, I look at it like a rock to stand on, right? Like, this is who I am, and understand who they are and be aware of that, and that they won't try to fit in with these other things if they don't believe in that. And I think
Yeah.
it's hard. And I think I'm so passionate about it, Paul, because I had such a hard time when I was young doing that, because all I wanted was to fit in.
Yeah. So there's that, and I think maybe these are two actually separate things. So the, which I agree everything you said. I agree everything 100% on what everything you just said. But the point that I'm making here is that what other people think about them is the number one thing that people care about. So that care has
Right.
never entered my mind personally.
No, but it's exactly what, it's the same thing. They care what other people think of them, so they'll do things that I see other
I
kids
see.
do, things that they wouldn't normally do, but they'll do it to fit into a group, or they'll do it to, because somebody else is doing it.
Sure. But we get criticized all the time for things we say on this podcast. So it's not necessarily a standard thing for me. It's that how much money do you make? That's my reply all the time. How much money do you make? Oh, I make 10 times what you make. So why would I listen to that person? Now, if someone who's a multi-billionaire said, "Hey, Paul, I listened to some of your podcast. I'm giving you a couple pointers here," I'd be listening. Then I do care what they have to say.
Right.
But I think too many times we just like you said, we care about what other people think, so we do things that we shouldn't be doing.
Or we won't say things that we should say, or
Yes.
we won't stand up for what we should be standing up for, right? Oh, well, so and so said this. Oh, a doctor said that, and so I think that I can't stand up for my own health and do what I know is right, right? I mean, that's just a a thought that came to me when you said that. So you have to be aware and just and I do think it all goes back, a lot of this all goes back to our standards. I think that's exactly where it all goes back to.
It does, but there's a reason why you and I are like this. So I was trying to figure out why are you and I so different than the rest of society where we don't care what other people think. And it just turns out that we've had the same mentor in our lives for the past 20 years,
Oh yeah.
who's Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
This guy, I am serious when I say he does not care what you say about him. He doesn't care what other people think about him.
No.
He's got arrows shooting at him every single day from 100 different directions. Doesn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally doesn't care.
That's right. Because, and I think it all has to do with he knows the truth.
Right.
And he's studied it, he's researched it for 70 years.
Yeah.
And you can't, there's nothing you can say to him that will make him feel any different or believe anything different because he knows the truth. And I think that is a lot of it too.
Sure, absolutely. But, just the name calling and the this and the that,
Sure.
he just doesn't care what other people think about him.
No.
I don't even think he cares what we think about him, but because he's just that kind of person where it's just he's focused on what he's doing, and the last thing on his mind is what other people are thinking about.
Yeah.
What else are other people?
Well,
What else care about?
Well, and especially now, I really believe that people are in survival mode. So they're just trying to survive,
They
right?
care about surviving.
I mean, yeah. It's surviving. It's trying to figure out how to deal with everything that's happening.
Yeah. So that again, I posed this question to Cheryl before we started this podcast, and I was kind of drawing a blank. Really could not come up get a good vibe on what other people care about. I was kind of drawing a blank here, and then so you came up with what other people think about them, and I was blown away. Like I didn't think of that, but that is 100% true. I understand that, and surviving too is also a main concern. I really care about just trying to get by right now with the cost of things and the craziness going on and all that.
Oh my gosh.
It is survival mode. And then but the third thing you told me, Cheryl, that people care about really was like, wow, like those three things in a row that just made me fall off my chair.
Yeah. But
what was the third thing, Cheryl?
It's so important. The third thing is I think that a lot of people want to run away. Like they want a reprieve. That's what I call it. They want a reprieve from real life. And look at the statistics on how much people watch Netflix. Look at the statistics on the people who are dying from fentanyl overdose. Look at the people who are dying from alcoholism. Look at the people who are, who are all they do is watch sports all the time. Like they don't do anything else. They just do that. Or they, and look, it goes for everything. Food, right? Oh, I need my comfort food, right? I mean, we could go on and on about the way that people escape is really what it is, Paul. They want an escape from life, from what's going on in their life.
It really is, and it's taking the focus off of them. And look what the Kardashians are doing.
Well, reality TV.
Let's just focus on how bad their lives are.
Yeah, it's reality TV. My life's a mess anyway. Let me watch somebody else who really has a mess of a life, but they have some money too, so that they can have a pretty mess.
Right, but I think people feel better after they see someone else having a bigger mess than they have.
Of course. Why was Honey Boo Boo so exciting for everyone? Like,
I don't know who that is, but I'm not going to ask.
I never watched it, but I know that it was very big. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think, and look, it's the same way with anything that takes you away from what's going on in your life. That's what it is. Oh, social media is a huge one, Paul. Social media is a huge one, especially for young kids.
Let's go see what everyone else is doing.
Well, not only that, but let's see what everybody else is doing so I don't have to think about what I should be doing.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Or gaming. Gaming is another huge one for kids.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so, and look, it's, well,
I don't know. I think you mentioned gambling, but I know that's a
gambling is a
billion
huge
dollar
one.
industry.
Gambling is a huge one. Oh my gosh. Do you want me to tell you something about TikTok?
Please do.
So,
Inquiring minds want to know.
okay, so that's the hottest thing for kids now. TikTok, they're on it all day long, every day. Did you know? So we know that we got TikTok from China, right? So that's where TikTok is from. That's who manages it. That's who does the whole thing, is China. They own it. They own TikTok. So listen to this. China allows their kids to be on TikTok. Now, this is the country of China. They allow their kids to be on TikTok no more than 45 minutes a day. And what they see on TikTok is not what we see on TikTok.
Right.
They only allow their kids to watch sewing, and it's like sewing and military their military marching around, and one other thing. And not only that, but they can't be on it. Everything closes down after 10 o'clock at night. Like, you can't even get on TikTok there after 10 o'clock at night. So there's
I didn't know that.
So there's all of these things that, like, they know you can't do that. You can't, constantly on that all the time. It's not good for you. Like, we know that. And so, but I just find it fascinating that the very people who came out with TikTok and own it, don't allow their children any of the access that is so freely given here.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just fascinating to me.
Really, really is fascinating. And so while you were saying that, Cheryl, I looked it up. Take a guess at how much money is spent in the United States on gambling per year.
I don't know, but I know it's a lot.
53 billion.
Oh my land.
Yeah, so that's not something you should be focusing on. And
yeah, and it's so addicting is the problem too. Anything that causes an addiction is just not, I mean, look, it's not good, because then you're fighting that the rest of your life.
Right.
Along with everything else. So
I'm gonna say something now that's extremely obvious, which is that you care about how you look, because you look freaking amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
It just shows. You can tell Cheryl cares about her hair. She cares about her makeup. She cares about the shirt she wears every single. She always asks, "Is this the right shirt to wear?" She cares about all these things tremendously.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I got a nice compliment from my son today, this morning. He said, "I don't think anyone your age looks as good as you do."
See?
I was like, okay.
That is unbelievable to hear.
Is that a compliment?
From someone whose job is to put you down,
Yeah, who really doesn't pay attention much. And I said, "Oh, thank you. That is so nice, honey."
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Cute. But I think it's important, right? And I have to do that. I feel like I need to do that because of the business I'm in too.
Well, we're live on YouTube right now. So
well, yeah, exactly. But if you're a health coach and you're helping people get healthy and look better and feel better in all areas of their life, I think you better be doing that.
Absolutely. But you can see in both of us that we take all the supplements. We use all organic products. We, if you do those things consistently over time for 20 years, that's where you land up. And you make the wrong decision for 10 or 20 years in a row and you land up someplace else. So my whole point of this is that when you care about something like how you look, you take pride in it. And one of the best quotes that I reread a few weeks ago in Atomic Habits by James Clear is that the more pride you have in a particular aspect of your identity, so part of your identity, Cheryl, is looking good, the more motivated you will be to maintain the habits associated with it. So what is it going to take to stay looking good? Because this is who I am. This is what I'm, So if you're proud of how your hair looks, you'll develop all sorts of habits to care and maintain it. That's a direct quote from the book.
Well, let me tell you, Paul, showing up at Orange Theory at 5 a.m. every day, getting up at 4:30 has been quite an amazing situation.
So it just shows you how much you care about your health, how much you care about how you look.
It might be how much I care about my daughter because she wants to go. I might find a different time to do it, Paul, if it wasn't for her, but that's the only time she can do it, with how busy she is. And so it's fascinating to me. And I was just thinking about that, like how much parents care about their kids, you know?
Yeah, listen, I'm Mr. Marines. I have to do the 6:15 class because the 5 o'clock class means I got to get up at like 4:30 or something to make it there.
Yes.
So it's like
You're
a
like,
deal
no,
breaker for me. So I wish I could be as disciplined as you, Cheryl, and do that.
oh,
And
a
Angelica,
child, Paul.
6:15 is the best I can do.
All you need is a child.
This is right. Yeah.
That'll
You've
get
been
you
pushing
up.
me for that for quite some time now. All right, so let's talk about things that we care about. So what's on our list, which is very different than everyone else's list in the world. So I thought about what's the number one thing I care about. And I came up with my state. So how I feel emotionally is the number one thing I care about. It's the number one thing I take pride in. Whenever you see me, whenever everyone sees me out in public, they ask, "Hey, Paul, how you doing?" I say the same thing every single time, which is outstanding. Doing outstanding today. How you doing? They're like, "Wow, I'm not sure I've ever heard anybody say that before." But I know that how I feel emotionally will dictate the quality of my life. If you're
Yeah.
angry and upset all the time, that's the emotions you have. That's the state you're in. I don't care how much money you have or how great your family is or any of those other things in life. You are going to be upset and angry all the time because it's just
Yeah.
who you are. It's the state you're living in
Yeah.
emotionally.
I'll tell you, Paul, now that I'm driving a little bit more than I have been in years, I really need to manage my driving state.
Oh, now you decided that.
Well, it's come to mind a time or two since we've been talking about this that it is very, very important to do that because look, first of all, you can't control it. I can't control the
Did you
person.
just say that? We got this on
Well,
recording.
now listen, I know that, but I'm just saying you have to look at it like that. So I can't control the drivers. I can only control how I drive. But just keeping your emotional state in a great way, which a lot of times, and which is so important for me now to take that quiet time and that time
Oh.
to do meditation.
Oh. So let me give everyone the backstory on this miraculous turn of events here. So whenever we're driving together and I'm driving,
Oh no, I know.
I'm just talking to you in a great state. What a beautiful day. We're on the highway, wind going. Cheryl, the only thing she can think about is why I'm following this tractor trailer for the past 10 miles.
That is true. I do think you need to get around that.
You need to get
What if
around
a
that, Paul.
rock flies up and hits your windshield?
Yep, the time is money, Paul. Let's put
Yeah.
the bigger pedal next to the bigger pedal. There's this gas pedal. You hit that, and you're gonna go faster.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard for me to follow.
but you have done an excellent job at state management, Cheryl. I want to
Yes, changing.
commend you on that.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
Obviously, another thing we care about is our health, right, Cheryl?
Sure. Yep. Doing what we have to do to stay healthy, right? Through no matter what comes along. It's not like we just started that today and now we're going to be, which today's a great time to start if you're not doing it already. But being consistent over a long period of time, I think, is what's helped me most.
Yeah. And Cheryl, if we learn anything from this whole COVID thing, which we didn't have any wins, so we got to learn something here. No one's coming. Oh well, listen, the vaccine's coming, so once the vaccine's here, I'll never get COVID again, so it'll be all over with.
Nope.
Not the case.
No.
Okay. Didn't stop the spread at 1%.
No.
In some cases, it actually increased the spread.
Exactly.
So you got to take control of your own health. You got to put your health at the top, very, very top, right, with state of the things you care about in life, and take pride in that. I take pride in the fact that I've never got COVID, that I never get sick.
Right.
And now that I say that out loud and on YouTube for millions of people to see, I have to really back that up now. So I take my supplements every day, do the cold plunge, exercise, meditate, all the things I have to do to keep my immune system at 100%.
Right.
Because I really take pride in that. How much I weigh. I know, Cheryl, that's something you and many women have at a high level of carrying your weight.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many things that can go wrong when you're overweight, right? I mean, there's so many problems that are created by being overweight. And I just think that it's hard to be as healthy as you can be when you weigh more than is good for you. So I think it's
It's
super.
also very difficult to fit in your favorite dress when you.
Well, yeah, your favorite dress, your favorite jeans. I mean, now leggings are another story. So we always we always
We always have that to fall back on.
we have always a fallback in the winter and in the fall. Yay! I'm
Oh
just
my
kidding.
God, too funny.
But yes, yes,
Yeah, so that's something you should care about, how you look. We already talked about that. So Cheryl, your spiritual life. I know this is something you cared deeply about.
absolutely. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah. Our mind, so we're always reading and learning new things so that we can get on this podcast and share all this wonderful, wonderful information with all of you. So that's something that we both care about a lot. Our income, obviously, we care about that, and some people I've met, they've literally shocked me, like made me fall off my chair where they're like, well, money really doesn't matter to me. I'm like, really?
Listen, I used to say that too. Money doesn't matter. I mean, because I heard my parents say it, right? But guess what? Money does matter if now this was incredible to me. So money matters if I want to make an impact on other people's lives, on my family's life, then money does matter, right? So I think I think it's detrimental, Paul, when people say money doesn't matter, because it's just not true, because that's the way life is. We have to
Well,
use.
in their defense, it's how they're looking at it. I'm like, well, do you like to travel at all? Oh, yeah, I travel. I take 10 trips a year. Well, how exactly do you pay for those 10 trips on
Exactly.
first class trips? Oh,
Yeah.
with money. But I don't really care about the money. I care about the trips. Well, if you didn't have the money, you couldn't take the trip.
That's right. That's right.
Do you care about cars? Yeah, I have 4 of them. But I don't care about money. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's hard to afford 4 cars if you have no money.
Yeah.
So I think it's a hilarious conversation with some people. But anyways, another thing that Cheryl, so we talked about impact driving your income.
Yeah.
That's how do you make your income, how do you elevate your income? Simple. Impact more people.
That's right.
So I really care about how many people we're impacting. I check the stats to make sure see where the podcast is at and how many people are listening, and look at all the comments that are made about it in the various places to see, are we really making an impact? This is a really, really important thing that we both care about tremendously, or we wouldn't be doing this, is to make that impact. Because we're not charging a whole lot for this podcast. So this really is all about impact. So my legacy is also something I care about.
Yeah.
So people are like, well, who cares what people think of you once you're dead? You're going to be dead. You're never going to know about it. It's not exactly how I look at it. I want to think right now, how do I want people to remember me? And actually, I go a step further. How do I want people to look at me now? Forget about when I'm dead.
Yeah.
Behind my back, what do I want people saying about me? Well, Paul's that jerk guy, this or does this or that. Like, I don't want that. I want them to say this, this, and this about me. And I'm being intentional about that. And when I decide what that's going to be or what that was, then miraculously people start saying that about me. I didn't tell them what to say about me, but I just have it inside of me of what I want them to say about me, and I act that way. And of course, naturally, they're probably going to say those things because of the way you're acting and the things you're doing.
Right. A couple others that we have are your savings account, or my credit score. All of those things are important, right? Because if we want to do the things that we want to do in life, then those things have to be important. Saving for a rainy day is what my dad always used to say. Saving for a rainy day, and then the credit score, your credit score allows you to do the things that you want to do: buy a house, buy a car, things like that.
Yeah, that's 100% true. The next one is a we could talk 7 hours on the next topic here.
Well, we could talk 7 hours on all these topics, right? I
But
mean,
marriage is a big one in that what happened yesterday, and there's so much not only did Aaron Judge hit number 61 yesterday or 62, but Giselle filed for divorce.
mm-hmm.
So what does Giselle care about in life?
Well, apparently it's her happiness.
Well, probably her family, yeah.
Yeah.
And what
if
does Tom Brady care about?
football.
Football.
And that's okay. I mean, that's what he's decided to care about. And she cares about being happy. And she's like, I mean, I don't know. We don't even know them, but it's like, you know what? Maybe she wants someone home for Christmas. It's been 23 years.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's a very interesting topic because, he cares about football, but, so if you have marriage high on your care list, you do things differently. I think if marriage was at the top of Tom's list, my own personal opinion, they would not be getting divorced right now.
that's probably the way it is for anybody.
Sure. I'm
Right?
guessing, but I think it's a pretty educated guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I waited till 13 to put children because I'm sure most people would mention that higher.
Yeah. Children would be number one
Yeah.
for
yeah.
anybody that has
Unless you don't have any, then
That's
they
right.
become number 13.
them.
And I was
Children,
actually
but also, well, and also family. Like how are your family relations and how important is that to you? I know that that's hard for a lot of people. But just think about that. And it's, your family's your family, right? And a lot of people have been able to choose their own family, which I think is super cool too. Right?
I choose you as family, Sean.
There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking
You
about.
can also choose your friends. So you got to care about your friends. Another thing, Cheryl, I think this is super high on your list because I've been hanging out with you for a long time now, and that's lifestyle.
Yeah, it is important to me. I ever since I was young, I always wanted to have a great lifestyle for my kids, and I wanted to give them. And I think all of us think like this. We want to give our kids more than we had, and
And it's not like Cheryl owns 10 exotic cars like I want her to buy, or massive TV sets or anything like that. She just likes vacation. So let's get
cars
specific.
are not important to me. Just so you know, moments are important to me.
I do care about cars myself.
I know you do, and you care about TVs, and you care about sports, and you care about a lot of stuff that I don't care about, which is totally fine. I think that's great, right?
Yeah.
But I think that that as long as you know what the things are that you do care about, and
the one thing we do in common though is we both care about vacations tremendously. So we want to.
I really care about making moments to remember. I really do care about that. I think that is that's really important. I always say I like to create moments. I don't like things.
Yeah.
Like, as Paul knows, I don't care about clothes that cost a lot. I don't care about stuff. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, my big thing is events. I love going. I go to every single city and see all. If there's just, I don't actually book Cheryl and I don't book a speaking engagement unless I first look at the sports schedule to see how many teams are playing in that area over the next week, and we book it around that. So I love doing that, and that's.
And I have a friend who one of her most important things is to go to concerts.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the moment.
It's a great one. Another event. Yeah.
Yep.
So my plan, I don't know how many people put this on their list of things they care about, but Cheryl, this is moving up your list. I'm super proud of you. You got a calendar and a plan and an RPM and all this stuff going on now.
Yeah, all of a sudden I've got just thinking about the result I want before I jumped in and do something has been an absolute life changer for me. Because if I can figure out what the result is that I want before I get started, oh my gosh, it makes everything so much more clear. And how fantastic is that? That's unbelievable. And it's like in everything. I do it in everything all the time. Like, what's the result I want to come out of this conversation that I'm going to have with my daughter or my son? What's the result I want? So I start from that, and oh my gosh, Paul, it's made all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it really has. And it, it's a little bit about, I think, the pain you started feeling from not caring about that. So I think there's
About the
some things
results, or just not even being
about
aware.
having a plan.
Yeah, well, and just not being aware that how important having a plan is. I mean, it is, and a plan. I like to think about a plan like a system, right? I know they're a little bit different, but when you have
No, it is the same thing. Yeah,
but when you have that in place, everything just gets crystal clear, and it's 1,000 times easier.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So here's another one that we differ on tremendously. So I have a little bit of a Marines background in me, and I am an organizational freak. Like my favorite store in the entire world. You know what it is, Cheryl?
I'm sure it's probably, oh, I know what it is. It's the Container Store.
The Container Store, exactly. It's like Toys R Us for me.
Okay, let me just tell you something, Paul. Never been in there. Never seen the inside of the
I'm
organizational
super shocked
store.
you knew that what it was. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
may,
no,
I may
I
have
know what
mentioned
it
it a
is.
time or two.
Yeah. No,
I will be sure to drag you in one the next time we're in a city with
no,
one.
thanks. I'm not interested.
Oh,
in that.
it's fascinating. I mean, you could spend
No.
hours in there, Cheryl.
No, I will. Oh my gosh. Oh, help.
I can see the comments rolling in now below this that Cheryl, you're missing out. You don't understand.
No, I can see the comments rolling in that exactly why on earth would I spend my time in there? Because,
So being organized is something I care about, and Cheryl, I mean, we both have people that keep our houses clean and our lawns mowed
yeah,
and things.
but
And
I am organized. It's just it's like
different
an
type of organization.
it's like an organizational
It's a little
mess.
different system.
Okay, it is a different system.
Yeah.
I don't want anything ever to be put away like on my desk because I know exactly where everything is.
Yeah.
And the minute you start touching it and moving it, I lose it.
Game over. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same way. I know I drive my husband crazy, by the way. He's organizational.
You drive me crazy as well.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Me and Jonathan are in the same boat on that one. What about being prepared for the week, Cheryl? You got kids, you got family, you got all this stuff going on, food and clothes. Make sure that all that is set for the upcoming week.
Actually, the funny thing about that is I have all of a sudden got more organized than I've ever been, especially like with food. Like we decide what we're going to eat, and we decide, my sister's done this forever. She's like super organized, and she's sat down this years and written down what she's going to have each night of the week for 1 week at a time, right? On Sunday, they decide, she gets everything, and then it's good. She's ready to go and good to go. So every time we go anywhere, like, especially like, when we went to the beach house with the health coaches and things like that, she always calls me and tells me, "Oh, what's the menu? What are we eating?" I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? What? We're not even there yet. Why are you trying to figure out what the menu is?" She's like, "Oh, no. We need to have the menu. We need to know what people are doing." And Paul, this, I'm sure this drives you crazy about me too. You're like, "Well, what about this?" I'm like, "I don't know. We're not to that point yet." Right?
Well, nothing drives me more crazy than when I ask you, Cheryl, where do you want to go eat?
I don't care.
Because it'll be lunchtime or something. We'll be traveling and we'll be doing a seminar someplace. Like, Cheryl, we want to go have lunch at.
I don't care.
And when you say the words, I don't care, I can't express to you the amount of fury going through my body at those moments.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But you know why? It's because I honestly don't care, because I can find, this is the way I say it, I can find anything to eat at any restaurant that will be fine for me. I'm super easy when it comes to stuff like that. Like, that's another thing I don't care about is super expensive restaurants that everybody wants. Oh, let's go to a fine dining restaurant. I'm like, no, let's go to Ethiopian food where you get to eat with your fingers.
Cheryl, we just talked about keeping your standards as high as possible.
Listen, my standards are high as can be, but I like sitting on the floor and eating with my fingers.
Listen, I'll be at
I
Ruth's
was like,
Chris.
stop the podcast. That's enough of that.
I'm at the Ritz having dinner at the steakhouse.
Hey, listen, I like it, but it doesn't like, it's not the biggest thing on my list. Like, I don't even care.
It's big on my list.
I know, and that's so good. I'm glad it is because it's great. So, Paul,
Let's get to the most important thing that I care about in life right now,
yeah.
which is to do something new in my life, is my golf game. So that is something I really,
yeah.
really care about. I sure know you care about your tennis game. That's
I do.
near and dear to your heart.
Yep.
So funny how that, but that's good. I mean, I look at it as something that I'm not wasting time. I got to get out of I work from home full time, 80 hours a week. So getting out for an hour here and there and going to play some tennis or some golf is actually super beneficial for both of us. So
yeah,
this is something else we care about. So that's my list of 21 things. You can go and download these notes again at elevateyourlife.com and look at my list and decide for yourself what your list is going to consist of. And Cheryl, I really believe that to elevate your life, you really need to examine what you care about.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that will form your life, right? I mean, that's it. If you want to design your life, you better figure this out. And then you better decide to have the things that you care about most, helping you move from where you're at to where you want to be.
From fine to fabulous.
Yeah. And it's going to be all about what you care about, because that's where, I love where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just love that. And that is so true.
So that is our +1 for today. To elevate your life, really examine what you care about.
Yeah. And by doing that, you will move from fine to fabulous.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks for your feedback on this. We will be back doing the next podcast, which is going to be our leadership podcast on Thursday. So we're looking forward to that.
And it's a good one.
Big Mo.
Yes.
Okay. Bye, everyone.